Hey everyone, it's Anna and it's been a while since I filmed a video. So I decided I would just do a summer wrap up to tell you guys what I read this summer, and it's not that much to be honest because I don't know. I had so much more to do this summer than I thought I would have, and everything was quite stressful and hectic, and I just didn't have that much time to read. But the books that I did read were amazing. Like I loved all of them. I think I gave all of them either 4.5 or 5 stars. And yeah, let's just get to the books, shall we? So in my last wrap up on this channel, I think that should be the June wrap up, I talked about The Kiss of Deception, and the next book I read was The Heart of Betrayal. Since this is the second book to the Remnant Chronicles, and it was just as good. Like, again, this book should be high fantasy, but it kind of is not. It's in a world different to ours, where kind of magic exists, and there is this gift that the main character Arabella is supposed to have. And in the second book, it still did not have as much fantasy as I hoped it would have, but I just loved it. I loved the characters. There were a few scenes where I felt like some of the characters were not the way they should be. I have this issue with some books where I feel like the author makes one character less likable to make a different one more likable, or to make the love triangle work out more, or specific friendships to work out more. And usually I feel like my favorite characters have to suffer through this, and this is what I felt with my favorite character in this series. I totally felt like Mary Pearson decided to make this character a little bit less likable to make us like a different one more. I have to admit it did work a little bit, but I still did miss my favorite character, and I felt like the decisions were weird and a little bit out of character. But altogether, I enjoyed this book just as much as I enjoyed the first one. We saw a lot more of the world in this book, and it was great. In case you're not familiar with this series, we follow our main character, Arabella, who is a princess, and she is meant to marry this one prince from another kingdom, and she doesn't want to because she doesn't know who this prince is, what he's like, and she feels like she has to do things for the sake of the kingdom, and no one wants to know what she feels about that, so she decides to flee. She just runs away from it all and escapes her own wedding and just goes to someplace else with her best friend. And the actual prince she was meant to marry decides to find out where she is and who she is, because he's a little bit curious about the girl who escaped the wedding with him. But there's also an assassin who's meant to follow her because he's meant to actually kill her. And we as a reader don't know in the first book who of them is the assassin and who of them is the prince, and she doesn't either. And we follow the story as it kind of develops, and in the end we do figure out who of them is who, and in this book we already know. And yeah, I just liked the world development. We saw a lot more of the world. I liked the character development, except for my favorite character actually, but the story was a good one. Right after that I read the third book, The Beauty of Darkness, also by Mary Pearson. And I have to admit, in my head, the whole plot line is a little bit all over the place because I read the 3 books back to back and I loved all of them. Like, I really, really liked them. And I felt like the huge ending that we were working for in the first 2 books was done very well, and all of the character arcs were wrapped up very nicely. I fell in love with every single character by the end of this book, and I was so happy to see them have their own ending. Like, there is no character left where we don't know what happens to her or him, and that was just a good ending to a trilogy. I think this might be one of my favorite trilogies of all time. I just haven't enjoyed a trilogy as much as I did enjoy this one in a long, long time. I was flying through the pages with every single book of those. And right after I finished the third book, I actually figured out that there was a new series by Mary Pearson, which the first book for that series came out, I think, in August. And of course, I already ordered it and I already have it. And this will be one of the next books I will try to fit into my TBR schedule. So next, I actually listened to an audiobook, and it was P.S. I Like You by Casey West. It's been about 3 months since I listened to it, but I'll try to wrap up my thoughts about it as best as I can without actually having too much of it left in my head. I'm trying to figure out what the main character's name was, but I can't. I keep thinking about her name being Casey, but that's the author's name, so I can't remember, I'm sorry. But we follow this main character who is a teenage girl, and she hates chemistry. She really hates her chemistry classes, and one day she starts to write down song lyrics on her desk, and then the next day she finds an answer to those lyrics, and then she starts to write letters to this person who answered to the lyrics, and they start writing back and forth. And they kind of develop this cute little romance story, but they don't know who they are, and we follow them actually basically finding out who that is. And we also follow her life at home and her friendships, her relationships with her family, which all of them were done so well. I kind of thought we would have a lot of romance, but no, we actually got a lot of family relations and a lot of her relationship with her friends. There was actually quite a lot to it as well. And then, of course, the romance. And I found it to be a perfect balance of all of that, and the character arcs were, again, very good. I remember giving it 5 stars because I enjoyed it that much. It was a perfect summer read for me, but I don't remember too much else about it. And the last book I read in the summer was To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I read this book in one day because I really, really wanted to see the movie. I kept getting spoilers all over Twitter for the movie, and I thought, no, that's it. I have to read the book, and then I actually have to watch the movie before I get too spoiled. And people seem to really, really love the movie, so I thought I need to get on this hype train and participate, so I read the book in one day. It was cute, it was funny. I feel like I keep saying the same things about all the books I read this summer, but I just loved all of them, and this is one of them. We follow our main character, Lara Jean, who has written love letters to all the boys she's loved before. And I think there were 5 love letters, and they all got sent out. They are all on their ways, and the boys receive the letters and read the letters, and then there are consequences. And this is where the book starts, and I feel like it kind of went in a different direction than I thought it would, but I liked the direction it went into. It had a very cute romance. It kind of had a little bit of a love triangle, but kind of not. So it was alright. And her relationships with her sisters were just great. I have to admit, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Margot. I don't know what it is. I just didn't like her in the book. Right after I finished it, I just started the movie, and I think this is one of the first books where I have to say I enjoyed the movie more. I don't know why. I don't really know what it is. I just felt like Kitty, Lara Jean's little sister, was so much funnier in the movie version, and the romance was so much cuter in the movie version, and the love triangle was basically non-existent in the movie version. So there are a lot of things that I enjoyed in the movie a little bit more than I did in the book, but both of them are great. I just felt like the movie went a little bit farther. I already started the second book, and I feel like the movie ending spoiled the beginning of the second book a little bit. And I kept mixing it all up in my head because it was a great book to movie adaptation, but it did take a little bit from the second book as well. So if you don't want to be spoiled at all, just read probably the first 30 pages of the second book and then watch the movie. But it's not that bad, but very cute, very funny, perfect for the summer. Probably will have to reread it because whenever I read a book in one day, I don't remember anything about it. And that's actually it. I read 4 books in the entire summer, like basically in July, August, and September altogether. I have started a few more books, but I have not finished them yet, and I guess I'll tell you more about that in my October TBR. Thank you for watching, thank you for coming back after my 3 months being away from YouTube, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully. Bye.